It's all the microbiome. And yet, somehow, from this ridiculous fear story that got suddenly the whole world, including scientists, are like okay with killing every organism on Earth. It's just a very, very sad low vibration event.
To me, and thank you for this deep, deep explanation. There's so many things you've mentioned that I've never heard, and I know so many people have not heard them either. So thank you for this education, really this expansion of consciousness that you have been such a leader for. One thing that I've been seeing in your work and with Farmer's Footprint and with ION, and even before, years ago, you were one of the first people on scene that really described the microbiome and the fact that if we just get out of the way of nature, if we stop trying to meddle with nature and just be in harmony with her, these laws of nature, they're actually here to serve us. They're here to help us.
Yeah.
So when we're putting a mask on and when we're spraying and lysoling and all these things from both a spiritual consciousness and also a medical perspective, what's really happening there when we put a mask on?
We're killing ourselves. I mean, really, it's that blatant, and I don't mean to startle people. Everything we're doing is killing ourselves. Every time we put a boundary between nature and ourselves, we kill ourselves. And so the proof of that is even beyond biology. I don't, you really geek out when you get into the physics world, so I don't want to get too esoteric here, but the second law of thermodynamics in physics is one of the most tried and true truths in science. And it's profound. I mean, really, nobody should ever be elected to any political position in the world without understanding the second law of thermodynamics. It's very simple. It says that any system put into isolation will increase its entropy. Entropy is a word for chaos.
Sure.
Any system put into isolation increases chaos within that system. That works for a solar system. It works for a planet. It works for, a quasar,
couple stuck at home. Is it the same type of
relationships? It works for your own psyche. The most potent penalty that we give in the penal system is sensory deprivation through solitary confinement.
Yeah.
It's the worst thing we can do to a human is isolate them. Their entropy increases. They suddenly start having visual hallucinations, auditory hallucinations, paranoia. They start pulling out their own hair. They'll scratch their faces off. It is a horrific amount of chaos that happens when you isolate. And that's why depression is so freaking dangerous, is your first reaction to depression is socially isolate. Your entropy is going to go up. And so the same terrifying thing what happens with chronic disease. You get diagnosed with cancer, you don't want to talk to anybody because you're tired of everybody being like, oh, I'm so sorry. How are you?
Right.
That kind of BS kind of reaction is not what you want around you when you're a cancer patient. So you isolate and entropy goes up and then you die of cancer a few years later. We need to realize that the second law of thermodynamics could redesign sociopolitical systems, socioeconomic systems, business structure, spiritual and religious practices. Everything needs to be redesigned when you start to come to terms with any isolation of any system is going to increase entropy and chaos. The exact opposite is true. The more connectivity any system has, the less stress it's going to have, the less chaos is going to be in that system. And so what we should have done when we heard about this virus is we should have sent everybody out into family reunions in every national park around the world. We would have immediately, all death would have stopped because we weren't dying of a virus. We were dying of a virus attached to PM 2.5 air pollution carrying cyanide. If we had just gone and parked ourselves in campsites all over the world and stopped driving around, the whole thing would have passed over like a gentle hand of genetic updating so that we could get the necessary information. Corona and the other, 10 to the 31 viruses in our air, another 10 to the 31 viruses in our soil, another 10 to the 31 viruses in our ocean water. 10 to the 31 is 10 million times more than stars in the entire universe. Okay, like 10 to the 31 is a grotesquely huge number. That's how many viruses we breathe any given year on the surface of this planet. Viruses are not against us. If they were, we would be dead so long ago. It's ludicrous. We never would have developed as a species a mere 200,000 years ago because the viruses started 4 billion years ago.
Yeah.
Like we've got this whole paradigm ass backwards, upside down, flipped over, and used to create economic shift. And so we are seeing the biggest consolidation of wealth in human history into just a few hands. And it's It's over nothing.
There's so much
Are
there.
people dying?
There's so much there to unpack. I think about what I read in the Price Pottinger work and also Weston A. Price, Nutrition and Physical Degeneration. He said if you looked at the healthiest people in the world, it was farmers and the sons and daughters of farmers, because they get their hands dirty. They're actually in relation with the humus, with the soil. They're in that bacteria all day long. Is it true that there isn't really any such thing as bad bacteria? I mean, isn't the world all a homeostatic system that supports life in all ways? Like, is there really such a thing as this killer virus, this COVID? Does it even exist?
Certainly exists for a good purpose. It's really important. As soon as I heard about coronavirus, I was ready to get it. That's an important update because it's coming out of the most damaged ecosystem on the planet. Wuhan is the most toxic ecosystem on the planet. We spray more glyphosate into the area around Wuhan and Hubei province there than anywhere else in the world right now. And so you have the highest level of genomic stress on the planet from the microbiome combined with the biggest pork operation in the world. We raise more chemical farmed swine in that country than any other country in the world.